this is Karen.
Hey everybody, I am Shane.
Today we're looking at part 1 of our story and it's called
The Hounds of Fate.
That's right. And the vocabulary words are exhausted.
Exhausted.
The farmer is exhausted from working in the fields all day.
Approach.
Approach.
Pam raised the slipper and slowly approached the cockroach on her coffee table.
Assume.
Assume.
The mob was after John, so he moved to a small town and assumed a false name.
Remark.
Remark.
Dave remarked that he only slept for 4 hours last night.
Inform.
Inform.
Jane informed her boss of her decision to quit. So we're looking at the story called The Hounds of Fate, right?
That's correct.
So we have this guy named Martin.
Martin. So Martin seems like he's homeless and he's just poor and he's wandering around in the country.
And he doesn't know if he's going to make it through the night.
He's exhausted.
Super exhausted.
He's starving, but then he sees something.
A farmhouse.
Yes, but he gets there and he doesn't even have enough energy to knock on the door. But somebody comes out and sees him.
And this old man is named George, right?
Yeah.
And then what does George say? He said, oh, Master
Tom.
That's right.
You're back. I knew you would be back.
But wait a minute. His name is Martin, not Tom.
So they think he's somebody named Tom.
But does Martin correct him?
He doesn't correct him because there's a warm house there, there's food, and they called him Master. So that must mean that he was pretty important there, so they'll take good care of him. So he keeps his mouth shut.
So he decided to stay for a little while.
Yes.
I guess I would too.
Yeah.
If I were hungry and I were cold, if I were desperate.
At least get some food first and get warm, and then maybe explain later.
That's right.
All right, let's see what happens on day 2.
Enjoy the story.
Enjoy.
The Hounds of Fate. It was a rainy autumn afternoon when Martin Stoner found himself wandering aimlessly in the country. He was exhausted, starving, and had no idea whether he would even make it through the night. He could feel the hounds of fate catching up with him.
Today's lesson is called The Hounds of Fate. Part 1. Hello, everyone. My name is Jeff.
My name is Mike. So this is our story, and what a title our story has. The Hounds of Fate. Well, fate is basically your fortune, your future, what will happen to you.
And you can't escape
it.
You
can't escape
escape
it. That's right. If you go to a fortune teller and they say, you will die in 5 years, and you say, what can I do to change that? I don't want to die. They'll say, you can't change it. It is your fate. It only happens in stories, don't worry. But that's basically a future that's like written in stone. It's been decided by the gods or whatever. And of course, in stories, it will mean that the hero or the bad guy, something's going to happen to them, and it probably won't be good.
What does this have to do with hounds?
Hounds are big hunting dogs. Right.
The Hounds of Fate, what?
It probably means that something is going to chase you to your death, and there's nothing you can do about it. Kind of, it's not good. If the fortune teller says you will be chased by the hounds of fate until you die in 5 years, you should probably buy life insurance.
Your fate follows you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, that's right. Don't make any plans.
Follows you like a hound.
That's right. Okay. Yeah.
Anyways, it was a rainy autumn afternoon when Martin Stoner found himself wandering aimlessly in the country. Well, where am I?
Okay, so
and he was exhausted.
He was very, very tired.
He was exhausted.
He was very, very tired and very, very hungry. Absolutely. He was exhausted, tired, starving, hungry, and had no idea whether he would even make it through the night. Wow, sounds like the hounds of fate are already chasing this guy down. Nothing is going well. He doesn't know if he will make it through the night or survive. He's afraid he might die before the sun comes up. He's starving, very hungry, and really tired. He needs a nap.
He needs
and a snack.
Nap. He is exhausted. By the way, you wouldn't use this word, I should say, if it was early in the day and you were just tired from waking up. You wouldn't say, oh, I'm so exhausted. You'd say you were sleepy. You'd use this word if you had been working all day long and you had no energy left. You'd say, oh my goodness, I'm exhausted. I have no energy left. I need to go to bed and go to sleep. I'm extremely tired. I'm exhausted. For example, the farmer is exhausted from working in the fields all day.
If you're a cell phone, your battery is below 5%. You're basically going to shut down. All right, as you think about that, we get back to Martin Stoner. Yes, he could feel the hounds of fate catching up with him. He could feel, terrible things are about to happen to him. The hounds of fate are about to bite him in the bum. He's really in bad shape. Things are not going well for Mr. Stoner. We'll be back after this break.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。我们这一次要读的故事叫做《The Hounds of Fate》。命运的猎犬。好，其中这个 hound 它当名词就是指猎犬，这个字也可以当动词来表达追赶、紧追、不断的去打扰、烦扰某人的那种意思。好，那么看到 fate 这个字则是指命运，尤其是指那种早已经注定没有办法改变的宿命。那老师们在开场时有特别讲到一个词叫做 fortune teller。Fortune 就是命运那个字，加上连字号，再加 teller，fortune teller 就可以表达算命师或是预言家。好，那么故事一开始说到，我们的主角 Martin Stoner 发现自己漫无目的的在乡间游荡，他又累又饿，而且不知道能不能撑过这一晚。他可以感觉到命运的猎犬正在纠缠着他，紧追不放。好，我们先来看单字 exhausted。Exhausted 是形容词，可以形容是精疲力尽的，非常疲惫的。那这边还有两个重点，第一个是 catch up with somebody 的意思及用法。第一种呢，我们可以用这个片语来表达追上、赶上某人，这可以用来表达是速度或者是进度，要去追上某人。当这个意思的时候呢，这个 with 可以换作 to 来用。好，例如 Zach ran so fast。That nobody could catch up with him. Zach 跑得非常快，以至于没有人追得上他。第二个用法，我们可以用这个片语来表达为某个人带来恶果，造成不良影响。那这时候主词呢，通常是不好的事物。例如 ，Her bad eating habits are starting to catch up with her. 她的不良饮食习惯开始对她造成不良影响了。那么第二个重点是句型 find 加受词加受词补语，是表达说发现某人或某事物处于某种状态。那么动词 find 在这边表示发现，它的受词补语我们常常会用现在分词、过去分词、形容词或是介系词片语。好，如果要用分词来当补语，那么主动或正在进行的动作用动词 ing 现在分词，那么被动或已完成的动作则是用 pp 过去分词。好，那我们来看三个例句哦。第一个例句 When he got home, he found the dog sleeping on his bed. 他到家时发现狗狗正睡在他床上。那这边的补语我们是用现在分词 sleeping 来表达正在进行。第二个例句They returned to their hotel room and found the door unlocked. 他们回到旅馆房间，发现门没锁。好，这时候我们的补语是用 unlocked 过去分词，去表达说门没有被上锁的状态。第三个例句The little girl found her grandma asleep on the couch. 小女孩发现她阿嬷在沙发上睡着了。好，这边我们补语是用形容词 asleep 来描述阿嬷是睡着的状态。好，接回到课文中。
The Hounds of Fate. Just when it seemed he couldn't go any further, he came upon a farmhouse. He approached the door, which opened before he could even knock. An old man named George welcomed the weary Martin.
Come in, Master Tom. I knew you would come back one of these days.
Martin entered the house, happy to assume the role of Tom if it meant a meal to eat and a bed to sleep in. He was promptly served a supper of cold meat, cheese, and bread.
All right, so the hounds of fate are on this stoner fella. And just when it seemed he couldn't go any further, he came upon a farmhouse. Now, remember, he's exhausted and hungry, so he's thinking, maybe I can sleep here, maybe I can get a bite to eat.
Absolutely. He definitely needs a place to rest, and a farmhouse is as good as any place. So he approached the door of the farmhouse, which opened before he could even knock. Ooh, creepy. So he walks up to this farmhouse, or he approaches the door of it, and before he can knock, the door opens slowly. That's very mysterious and strange because, of course, you would expect to approach a door and knock on it or ring the bell before the door opens, right? To approach is just to go near to something, to go closer to it, to go towards it. If you are walking towards your house and you're getting nearer and nearer, especially in the last few steps before you reach your front door, you are approaching something. If someone approaches you, they are walking towards you, not away from you, towards you. For example, Pam raised the slipper and slowly approached the cockroach on her coffee table. She picked up a slipper or a shoe, and she has to walk towards the cockroach to smash it with her shoe. She can't reach it from the other side of the room. So there he is. He's approaching the door. He's about to knock, and suddenly the door starts to open before he knocks on it. Who's there? What's going on?
Well, an old man named George welcomed the weary Martin Stoner, and says, "Come in, Master Tom.
Tom?
I knew you would come back one of these days."
Tom. He called him Tom?
He called him Master Tom.
Master Tom. Okay. Well, master is something you used to call like younger men, right? Instead of calling him Mr., they would call him Master. But his name's Martin. It's not Tom. So this is very confusing. But remember, Martin is exhausted. He's hungry. He just needs a place to rest. So he doesn't care if they call him Jane as long as he can sit down. Martin entered the, call him any name. He just wants to sit down. Martin entered the house happy to assume the role of Tom if it meant a meal to eat and a bed to sleep in. Call me Susan, call me Mary, call me Barnaby. I don't care. I want food and I want to sit down. I'm exhausted and starving. I'll be whoever you want.
Yes, I'll be whoever you want me to be. Whatever, just get me something to eat and a place to sleep. Anyways, let's talk about the verb assume. If you assume something is true, okay, usually you decide something is the case or is true before you have all the facts, okay? You assume something is true even though it might not be true. Here, though, he says that he's happy to assume the role of Tom. That means he's happy to play this role, to take this role. That's the idea here. For example, the mob was after John, so he moved to a small town and assumed a false name. He took a false name. He started going by a different name.
Interesting.
Anyways, he got that meal.
He did, yeah. Call him Tom, call him whatever, but just give me some food and a place to rest. So that's what happened. He was promptly served a supper of cold meat, cheese, and bread. Just what a starving person would want to eat. And this happened quickly or promptly. So not a lot of questions, not a lot of, Tom, where have you been? He didn't have to make up a big lie. He just said, yeah, I'm Tom. Okay, sure, whatever. And they gave him food, and that's what happened. So confusing, but at this point, Martin's not worried. He's just happy to be eating his food now. We'll take a break, and then we'll be back and find out what happens with Martin, Tom, and all this strange stuff.
好，故事里的主角 Martin 他又累又饿，可能撑不过这一晚了。那接着呢，就在他似乎没有办法再往前走的时候，他碰巧看见了一间农宅。当他走进门口要敲门之前，这个门就打开了。就突然打开了，听起来有点毛毛的，有点可怕，对不对？麦克老师刚刚用到形容词 creepy 就可以形容是令人毛骨悚然的，那它是拼作 creepy creepy。好，这边还有两个重点。第一个 seem 表示似乎看起来，那常用的句型是 it seems that 主词加动词，其中的 it 是虚主词，例如It seems that Sharon has found her Mr. Right. 看来啊 Sharon 似乎已经找到她的真命天子了。第二个重点 come upon 在这边呢是指碰巧遇到看到，它就跟 come across 或者是 run into 的意思相同。举例来说 They came upon a bear during their hike. 他们在登山健行时遇到一只熊诶。好，那么在那一间农宅的门打开之后，就有一位名叫 George 的老人出来迎接 Martin。可是那位老人称呼他 Master Tom， 汤姆少爷。好 ，Master 在这边是尊称，就是指少爷、大爷。那么老人就对 Martin 说：“汤姆少爷，请进，我就知道总有一天你会回来的。”好，那这时候 Martin 虽然听了很困惑，但是他又饿又累，管他3721，只要可以进去吃东西休息都好。于是他就假扮成自己是 Tom 的角色，然后就走进屋内了。然后接着晚餐就立刻送到他面前。好，我们来看单字 approach。Approach 是动词，表示接近、靠近。那么单字例句写到说 Pam 举起拖鞋，慢慢的接近咖啡桌上的蟑螂，应该就是准备要用拖鞋打那只小强了。好，麦克老师这时候用到一个动词叫 smash。smash 就是表达猛烈的打或是撞击、打碎、砸烂的意思。那我们再来看下一个单词 assume 它是动词，表示假装或者是冒称。好，那我们接着回到课文中。
The hounds of fate.
You'm little changed these 4 years,
The old man remarked. He left to inform Tom's aunt that they had a guest. She'd always said they'd take Tom in if he ever returned. However, she refused to speak to or look at him again. After supper, Martin was led to Tom's room, and he had a good night's sleep, the first in a very long time.
Okay, so Master Tom. I thought we were dealing with a character named Martin Stoner who was being hounded by fate, or the hounds of fate.
Well,
they were after him.
That's what was happening, but luckily he found this farmhouse. They welcomed him in like he was some long-lost person named Tom, but he didn't care. He was tired and hungry, so he's eating his meat and cheese and bread. He's finally getting some food, and as he's eating, the old man who lives in the farmhouse, who welcomed him in, who called him Tom, starts to talk to him. And this old man says, "You'm little changed these 4 years," the old man remarked in this kind of old-timey English. "You'm little changed these 4 years, Master Tom," says this old man, or he remarks. When you remark, this verb basically means you say something, you comment on something, probably something you're seeing or an opinion you have, what you think about what's going on. You might remark about the beautiful weather we're having today, or remark about what a lovely song they're playing over there. So it's basically just your opinion or your comment on something that's going on or happening around you. For example, Dave remarked that he only slept for 4 hours last night. It's interesting. It might relate to what's going on Boy, Dave's yawning all the time and seems a little slow today, but it's not the most important thing in the world. It's just a little comment, though. So there's this man, he's looking at this young Martin or Tom eating and says, oh, you know, you kind of look pretty good.
He said something, he remarked something, and then he left. He left to inform Tom's aunt or aunt that they had a guest.
Oh, this is family.
There you go. By the way, he left to inform Tom's aunt. If you inform someone of something, you're giving them information. Okay, I've got this news for you, and I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to inform you of what I know. For example, Jane informed her boss of her decision to quit. I've decided that this is what I want to do, and I'm telling you about it now. I'm informing you of it right now. Anyways, while Tom or Martin, while they're alone, what happens next? I don't know, so let's go ahead and read on.
All right, so we're now with the aunt of Tom, or who they think is Martin. She'd always said they'd take Tom in if he ever returned. However, she refused to speak to or look at him again. Very, very interesting. So this is obviously a family that's had some kind of trouble in the past, right? So they're happy to welcome Tom back, whoever this Tom guy is, but the aunt, it says she refused to speak to or look at him again. She was upset with him from the past. You can come into my house, but I'm not going to talk to you. I'm not even going to look at you. I'm still angry with you, I guess, for something that Tom did.
She won't speak or look at him
That's
again.
right. Something that Tom did in the past was so terrible that the aunt won't speak to him or look at him again. But of course, Martin, this real young man who's there, is kind of like, okay, I'm just happy you gave me food.
This actually makes things easier for Martin. He can kind of pull this thing off. He doesn't have to be seen by the second person. Anyways, after supper, Martin was led to Tom's room, and he had a good night's sleep, the first in a very long time.
So he got his food, he got his rest, and he's with this weird family.
Maybe this is his fate. This is where he's going to end up. Anyways, folks, that's it for today, and we'll see you next time.
那一位名叫 George 的老人以为 Martin 就是 Tom 他的汤姆少爷。好，那么 Martin 也乐于假扮成 Tom， 然后就在农宅里面骗吃骗喝。好，老人就说啊，他这4年来都没什么变诶，然后接着就离开去通知 Tom 的姑姑说他们有访客到。好，那这边有2个单字 remark 是当动词来表达评论、谈论或是说。那么 inform 是指通知或是告知，它的用法是 inform somebody of something， 或者是 inform somebody 加上 that 子句来表达通知某人什么什么事情。好，那么故事接着就写到说Tom 的姑姑平常总是在说，要是 Tom 回来的话，要收留他。可是他却拒绝再跟 Tom 说话，或是再看他一眼。不晓得这个 Tom 到底做了什么事，让他姑姑气成这样诶。不过呢，这样也正好可以让 Martin 顺利的去扮演 Tom， 因为姑姑也不会来看他或是跟他讲话，就不会被拆穿了嘛。好，那么在吃完晚餐后呢 ，Martin 就被带到 Tom 的房间，他好好的睡了一觉。好，那我们最后来补充一下 ，Jeff 老师用到一个片语 pull something off。pull something off 就可以表达成功做到某事，或者是顺利成功完成某任务的意思。好啦，那么以上是今天的讲解，同学别走开，马上回来哦。
You may often see cowboys as characters in old Western movies. The exciting fighting and shooting scenes are regarded as an essential part of American culture. Besides, do you know that cowboys are important to American agriculture? Over 1 million beef producers in America are responsible for more than 94 million heads of cattle. Also, let's not forget the sheep, goats, and horses that must be taken care of. With all of these animals to look after, the life of a cowboy isn't easy. That's why many children begin to learn about being a cowboy at an early age. They wake up early in the morning to work with animals. By doing so, they begin to understand the importance of responsibility and hard work. So, the next time you see a cowboy movie, remember what cowboys really do.
Here is more information.
Cowboy. You can see real cowboys when you travel to southwestern America. Ride. Emma likes to ride horses in her free time. Cattle. Lenny's father has 50 cattle on his farm. Ranch. The Brown family has been running a ranch for 30 years. Boot. Michael is wearing a new pair of boots. Hat. Look, that cowboy's hat is very handsome. Saddle. Amy saddled her horse and then rode away. Bridle. Nick is bridling his horse. Rope. Please tie the rope to the back of the car. Rodeo. Rodeo is an exciting activity, but it can be dangerous. Thanks for joining us today. I hope you learned a lot. We'll catch you later.
See you next time.